The Philadelphia 76ers finished a record of 51-31. However, they did end up getting sent home by the Miami Heat in the second round of the playoffs. Joel Embiid's health was a big issue. He started out by having a torn ligament in his thumb in the first round, and then at the end of the first round, he got an orbital fracture in his eye and his face, so that put him out for most of the Miami series and ended up playing. However, it did affect his play, and this 76ers team never reached its full potential. So dating back to the trade deadline, the Philadelphia 76ers ended the Ben Simmons saga by trading away Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Andre Drummond in a package deal for James Harden, which when they first acquired him looked very, very promising. However, James Harden started to regress and not play as well to the end of the season and leading into the playoffs and having an underwhelming playoffs performance. So due to James Harden's performance in the playoffs, the 76ers are in a dilemma whether they should give him the max extension he's looking for. If they do, they're putting themselves in a huge financial hole, having to pay someone who's regressing every single year, paying him the max for 5 years, really making this team what it is because there's no more flexibility if they resign James Harden to that max extension. So once again, the 76ers have fallen short of making the conference finals and eventually the finals. So I've come up with 4 trades for the 76ers team to make that involve making moves around the edges. Now, I try to find a Tobias Harris trade for them, but honestly, there really is no trade for him. I mean, he's an overpaid player who is a wing player, and there's plenty of them in the league that are putting up the same stats he are that doesn't have near the contract. So I left him alone, but I made some more trades around the edges that I think can really improve this roster. Small, underrated moves. So I'm looking at some glaring holes in this Philadelphia 76ers team that I tried to address. So they ranked 19 in points per game. They ranked 25th in three-pointers attempted per game. And they ranked 23rd in fourth quarter scoring. So something that this team lacks is big man depth and just like shot making. So before I get into the trades, make sure that sub button. I need to make this ratio a little bit less lopsided. And now it's finally getting to the trades. So the first trade of the video, I have Harrison Barnes from the Sacramento Kings going to Philly in exchange for Danny Green, Korkmaz, and Matisse Thybulle, and also including that 23rd pick that Philadelphia has this year in the first round. So in terms of the Philly side, Harrison Barnes, he's just a great basketball player. I mean, he can rebound a little bit, he can play defense, he can shoot the ball, he can drive it, he can pull up for the mid-range, he can catch and shoot. Like, he has the whole package, and he does it at a pretty consistent rate. And I think this would be a great move for the Sixers to get a little bit more depth in that starting lineup of theirs. So you could run, Harden, Maxey, Barnes, Harris, and Embiid. I think that is a fantastic starting lineup. Again, their depth on the bench is going to be lacking, so they're just going to have to run those 5 guys for majority of the game and just pray they all stay healthy. But in terms of the Sacramento side, you have Danny Green, who tore his ACL in the playoffs. He's not going to play next year. He's also an expiring contract, so he's just in this trade for contract reasons only. You have Korkmaz, a nice perimeter three-point shooter, and you have Matisse Thybulle. Now, I was really high on Thybulle about a year ago when he was playing great defense. I'm just like, only if he develops a shot, Well, we've seen that past 76ers player, and we saw how that worked out for them. So I really think you trade Thybulle here. He is a very great defensive player for them, but I think you'd have seen a little bit more offense, especially since James Harden is now going to be primarily a playmaker for them. That's pretty much established at this point. And the 23rd pick, look, Philly needs to go all in with the next couple seasons because, we have, the history of big man's health once they reach the age of 30 and beyond, and Embiid's already had some future injuries. So I think it's time to go all in. One of the only moves they can make. So the second trade of the video involves the New Orleans Pelicans. So we have Willie Gomez going to the 76ers and Shake Milton going to the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, it's pretty apparent that the 76ers need bench center depth because in the playoffs last year when Embiid went out with the orbital fracture, they had to play DeAndre Jordan, and that was not great to see. Really not. They don't have a backup center at this point, and I would not recommend re-signing DeAndre Jordan. I think it's time that he hangs it up. He's lost all athleticism. That's really all he had available to him when he was in his prime. So I think it's time for DeAndre Jordan to call it quits. So they got Willie Gomez, who was a great backup big for the Pelicans. And I don't think the Pelicans will be worried too much about letting him go because of the development of Jackson Hayes, and hopefully Zion's coming back next season. So they'll have, and then along with Valanciunas, so they'll have plenty of big man depth there. So, and then they get a nice guard, Shake Milton, who like 2 years ago had a really good rookie campaign. Kind of slowed down from there, but he's still a great perimeter three-point shooter. Get you a bucket on the inside. Just an all-around great, shot creator. So they have another one over there in New Orleans outside of CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram. So I think the trade works out for both teams very, very well. So the third trade of the video involves the Dallas Mavericks. Now the 76ers will be getting Reggie Bullock in exchange for Danny Green and Matisse Thybulle. So in terms of Philadelphia's side, he's a great spot three-point shooter. Having James Harden and Joel Embiid draws so much attention to them. I think Reggie Bullock would get three-pointers all day like he is right now in Dallas. And then Dallas is getting Danny Green, which is just in here for contract reasons. Again, expiring deal, ACL injury. He's not going to play for them. And then Matisse Thybulle, great perimeter defense. Dallas definitely needs more perimeter defenders, in my opinion, on that team. And I think Thybulle fits that mold, and they have plenty of scorers, so he won't really need to be too reliant on his three-pointer. It's a pretty basic trade here. The Sixers are just trading defense for three-point shooting. Not a terrible idea for them. And now the final trade of the video, it involves the Atlanta Hawks. So the 76ers will be getting Bogdanovic from Atlanta. He's a great shot maker, three-point shooter. Go get you a bucket anytime you can. Similar to Reggie Bullock, but just, does it at a higher volume and can do a little bit more than just shoot three-pointers. Again, with all the attention James Harden can get and Embiid can get, that'll leave Bogdanovic wide open majority of the time. He's going to be able to knock him down. He's going to be a great scorer for them, offensively. Danny Green is just in here for contract reasons. You have Matisse Thybulle, a great defender. Isaiah Joe, who's just a young player for them. And then the 23rd overall pick this year from Philadelphia is going to go over to Atlanta in this trade. So Atlanta, they lack perimeter defense, so that's where Matisse Thybulle comes in. Again, Danny Green's not really going to play for them, and Isaiah Joe is just a young asset. Maybe they could develop into something offensively. And then the 23rd pick, they can either draft that pick or they can combine that pick with a bunch of the assets they have and make a blockbuster trade down the line. But yeah, I think this trade works out for both teams here. I think they both get what they desperately need. So that pretty much wraps up this video. There's two more popping on the screen right now. Make sure to check them out. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.